They've just had the wedding party at Marika's place. I thought they were coming here. I wanted to see them. They could never stop us talking to each other. They could punish us, but they could never stop us shouting across those 10 meters. We lived here in the second house. We were always very sad to look across because we couldn't go over there, only this far. We weren't allowed to go out into the courtyard. In the evenings we had to black the windows out to make sure not a chink of light got out. That's what it was like then. If someone went out to pee or use the toilet, a soldier came and took him away from his own courtyard. They told us we weren't allowed to build near the border, and that they were going to close down the village and move us into a big apartment block. The remains of Stalin's Iron Curtain can still be seen today, splitting in two the twin villages with their Hungarian population, which were united some 600 years ago and are situated on the border between Ukraine and Slovakia. Nagy-Selmence is the part of the settlement which is in Slovakia, whilst Kis-Selmence is in Ukraine. One of the girls got married. Her parents lived on the other side, and they could only see their daughter in her wedding dress across the border. They built a solid wooden fence which was 300 meters long and 4.5 meters high. People living on this side and the other side could only communicate with each other by song and singing. Until 1919, the Hungarian counties in Subcarpathia belonged to Hungary. Under the peace treaty which marked the end of the First World War, this region became part of Czechoslovakia, which itself has since been divided, in disregard of the Wilson principles regarding the right of peoples to self-determination. The First Vienna Accord of autumn 1938 gave most of the region back to Hungary, resulting in Selmence becoming part of Hungary again, which it remained between 1938 and 1944. At the end of the Second World War, the twin villages were split in two by the barbed wire Soviet-Czech border, when the Soviet Union annexed the Carpathian. Following the collapse of the Soviet Union, it has been the border between Slovakia and Ukraine, which since 1992 has divided the split village. We met the children of Nagy-Selmence in Hungary at an international festival in the town of Kecskemét. Although we only live a few kilometers apart, that was where we saw each other for the first time. This was an important meeting. It was as if the little Berlin Wall, which still divides the children, had collapsed. At present, a visa is required to move between Ukraine and Slovakia. If someone in Nagy-Selmence in Slovakia wants to visit a neighbor whose house is 50 meters away in Kis-Selmence in Ukraine, they face several weeks of bureaucracy, a charge of $30 for a visa, a wait of several hours at the border, and a total of some 600 kilometers of travel before finally reaching their brother or sister, parents or relatives who live at the other end of the street. And if someone from the Ukrainian side wants to visit Nagy-Selmence in Slovakia, alongside the time-consuming bureaucracy, they must pay the cost of the visa, which is valid for 2 journeys, which is more than the average monthly pension, before embarking on the 240-kilometer circular trip, which will take them effectively 50 meters. The population of Nagy-Selmence and Kis-Selmence has fallen to 60% of the 1944 total, and there remain some of the original inhabitants of Selmence, who, although they speak only Hungarian, have never once set foot outside the village where they were born, and yet have been citizens of 4 different countries: Hungarian, Ukrainian, Czechoslovakian, and Slovakian. Our village is a dead end, it just stops. People turn round when they get to the end. Only the birds don't, because they fly over the border. You're Peter Veres, aren't you? Yes. I'm your Auntie Julish. Thanks to the book entitled The Village Cut in Two by the Hungarian writer Miklós Zelay, the Center for Hungarian-American Congressional Relations, and a visit by its chairman Sándor Nagy to Selmence, and to an international press conference in Budapest, the attention of the US Congress and of other countries has been drawn to the inhuman situation of the village which was cut in two 60 years ago by barbed wire, thanks to a decision by the Soviet Union. At the request of America's Hungarians, the representatives of the US Congress have offered their assistance to the people of a village called Selmence, which is several thousand kilometers from Washington, is cut in two, and is inhabited by Hungarians.
Az amerikai magyarok szívükön viselik az önök sorsát,
Your fate is close to the hearts of America's Hungarians. Since 60 years ago, their lives too were changed enormously by the Stalinist dictatorship. The difference is that the invisible wire fence which divided them from their loved ones no longer exists. But they feel for you and are doing everything, we are doing everything possible to make sure that that wire fence ceases to exist. From the 1st of May 2004, when Slovakia and Hungary joined the European Union, it will be the border between the EU and Ukraine which splits the village. The legacy of Stalin's Iron Curtain will become the golden curtain of impenetrable, wealthy Europe. We hope we will soon be able to open our border with the help of the EU and the USA. People say French and Spanish soldiers will come here as guards because it will be a Schengen border. If this community is to survive, it must have hope, and it must act in order to have a better future. I believe in people's common sense. This situation can't continue after 60 years. It doesn't make sense for the people here, friends and relatives, not to be able to see each other.